These days, it feels like just about everyone is in love with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But even though plenty of big-name Oscar-caliber stars have signed on to the MCU, there are some actors who aren't so enamored with Marvel movies and aren't afraid to say so. Here's a look at some big-name actors who have criticized the MCU. Simon Pegg. In 2015, Simon Pegg bit that hand that feeds him by trashing science fiction and comic book movies, saying society was being, quote, infantilized by superhero movies and that they're, quote, taking our focus away from real-world issues. Pegg called out Avengers Age of Ultron specifically, saying that films used to give us challenging, emotional journeys. Now we're walking out of the cinema really not thinking about anything, other than the fact that the Hulk had a fight with a robot. Unsurprisingly, Pegg also had a bone to pick with Marvel Studios over how they treated his pal Edgar Wright, saying that Wright's original Ant-Man script was daring, fun, and hugely exciting. Shame we won't see it. Jodie Foster. The Avengers and their ilk may save the world on screen, but according to Jodie Foster, when it comes to the hearts and minds of audiences, they do the exact opposite. Foster told Radio Times she had no interest in directing superhero movies, and she compared Marvel and DC's films to literally harming the planet. She said, "Studios making bad content in order to appeal to the masses and shareholders is like fracking. You get the best return right now, but you wreck the earth. It's ruining the viewing habits of the American population and ultimately the rest of the world." Guardians of the Galaxy writer and director James Gunn responded on Twitter, saying, "I think Foster looks at film in an old-fashioned way, where spectacle film can't be thought-provoking. Creating spectacle films that are innovative, humane, and thoughtful is what excites me about this job." George Takei. In 2016, when Tilda Swinton was cast as Stephen Strange's mentor, the Ancient One, in Marvel's Doctor Strange, critics accused Marvel of whitewashing. Doctor Strange co-writer C. Robert Cargill responded by claiming that they made the character Celtic instead of Tibetan in order to avoid angering Chinese censors. That didn't sit well with Star Trek icon George Takei, who posted on Facebook, "You cast a white actress so you wouldn't hurt sales in Asia? This backpedaling is nearly as cringeworthy as the casting. Marvel must think we're all idiots." He went on to point out that they moved the Ancient One's headquarters from Tibet to Nepal anyway, which should have taken care of the issue to begin with. It wouldn't have mattered to the Chinese government by that point whether the character was white or Asian. It was already in another country. Jessica Chastain. In August 2014, while speaking to The Wrap about women having difficulty finding good roles in Hollywood, Jessica Chastain singled out Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow as an example of a powerful female character and said the fact that Marvel hadn't made a solo Black Widow movie made no sense. "I don't understand it. Why is it taking so long for this? To me, it's a no-brainer. You want to make money? Put Scarlett Johansson in a superhero movie." There's some good news, though. After the success of 2017's Wonder Woman, Marvel finally began listening, and a Black Widow film is currently in development. Chloe Bennet. You wouldn't think someone currently working for Marvel would take potshots at them, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. star Chloe Bennet did just that in 2016 when she expressed frustration with her show consistently being ignored by the movies, even though they take place in the same shared universe. She told a crowd of fans at a comic book convention, "People who make movies for Marvel, why don't you acknowledge what happens on our show? Why don't you guys go ask them that? Because they don't seem to care. I'm kind of like ready for Steve Rogers to make an appearance on our show. I'd be okay with that. And like, where's Romanoff? Where's the Avengers?" Christopher Eccleston. Thor: The Dark World star Christopher Eccleston is another one-time Marvel employee who wasn't quite so happy with the studio. Not because they didn't give his character enough attention, but because they gave him way too much. Eccleston told Graham Norton that in order to play the evil Malekith, Eccleston had to endure several hours in makeup every day, something he says Marvel hid from him when he signed on. "Marvel were dishonest to me because they never ever let me know that there'd be that amount of makeup." And he was even more direct when speaking to The Guardian about the experience. "Thor? Just a gun in your mouth. So, don't count on Malekith coming back to pester Thor anytime soon." Mel Gibson. Considering Mel Gibson once said of a critic, "I want to kill him, I want his intestines on a stick, I want to kill his dog," you have to take it seriously when he starts complaining about excess violence. Calling superhero films violence without conscience in an interview with the Washington Post, he contrasted his approach to the 2016 drama Hacksaw Ridge with Marvel's output. "Look at any Marvel movie. They're more violent than anything that I've done. But in my movies, you give a shit about the characters, which makes it matter more. That's all I'll say." Jason Momoa. Even before Jason Momoa made his debut as Aquaman in the DC Extended Universe, the star, at a fan's request, personalized an autographed photo with Marvel at the Indiana Comic-Con. The photo, and particularly the offending phrase, traveled quickly across the web, feeding fuel to the decades-old Marvel-DC rivalry. To his credit, Momoa wasn't too pleased about the autograph going viral, explaining at Puerto Rico Comic-Con that it was just a joke that got blown way out of proportion.
I love X-Men. I grew up with, love Wolverine. My kids love Spider-Man. It's just silly. I'll leave my sense of humor at the bottom of the ocean next time.
Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.